The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen close or just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast airways, feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start as we do by saying to Josh, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, the guys at the Weather Report, to Billy G, and to Walt from the B-Raw Podcast. Thank you for your continued support. It means a lot to me, especially around this time of year and the holidays. I know we've all got other things we could be throwing our money at, so you throwing me them ducats is always appreciated. So anyway, we're getting back into it, and after that little week off breather, which really wasn't all that much of a breather because for some odd reason I still can't stay away from venting my spleen to people over the internet. So if you haven't been listening on X in the mornings with the Weathered View, which is hosted by Bruce from the Weathered Report, and then, random people jumping on there, John Domingo and the Duchess from the Boomer Bunker have been hopping on there pretty regularly. Ken Madden, Jason, the other guys from, the Weathered View are on there. Myself, occasionally other random people hop on. It's always a fun little chat in the mornings. We do that on Bruce's commute to work in the morning where he hosts it and everybody else just jumps on and talks. So I was on there like 3 out of 5 days last week. Couldn't be helped. I just can't contain myself. So anyway, now that the election's over, and if you were one of the people that happened to catch my stream of the election night coverage, we all know by this point, Donald Trump has won in a fairly decisive victory, which is being chipped away at by the establishment because now we are here 11 days post-election and the fucking votes are still being counted in several blue states, including the shithole I live in California, in Arizona there. And oddly enough, all these last minute, and they're still doing it in Pennsylvania too, before I forget that. And oddly enough, overwhelmingly, all these recently found and late counted votes are all going heavily Democratic. And now, none of them are purely Democratic, but I think that's, necessary for the cheat to be, oh, well, we're not cheating. Look, there were votes for Republicans in here. But you're looking at a roughly 90% return on all the votes going blue. And a lot of them are edging out Senate seats that were called for the Republican candidate. Now, all of a sudden, 14, 13, 11, 12 days later, oh, wait, no, here, now the Democrats ahead by 35 votes, by 40 votes, by just enough where they barely eked out the win. And then these are the same fucking idiots who will sit there and wonder why nobody has faith in the electoral process anymore and why so many people are willing to say, you know what, no, we don't recognize the validity of your elections because this is the kind of shit you pull. Deep blue shitholes all swing deep blue after election day is actually done and over with, and they have to go back and have things audited and changed because they, for some reason, can't handle things in a system that would behoove a third world fucking nation where countries with millions and millions of people can have all their votes counted the same fucking day they're turned in. They can verify identity. This is literally the only developed country in the world where where confirming your identity to vote in the election isn't required. And go figure, all the states where ID is not required to vote are all the ones that went fucking blue. I'm not saying that, it's only the only way Democrats can win is by cheating. I'm just saying that all the states Democrats won in, it's really easy to cheat in. And I can actually testify to that as to my voting experience when I went out and voted on election night, because they didn't ask me for shit. They asked me for my name and to confirm that I lived in the district, which I could have been anybody. I could have, confirmed as my son and voted for him because his name's on file and he lives in the neighborhood. Now, granted, in the town I work in, it's not quite as easy because we only got a population of like 12,000 people. So they've only got a small handful of people in like 2 polling places. So, and for the address, you have to go to a certain polling place. So it's not like I could vote twice at my polling place without raising some fucking eyebrows. But that being said, not a real secure process, and realistically, the way they do things in Illinois, at least, is you get like a Scantron ballot, you fill in your little circles, you stick it in a machine, it scans it and counts your votes. We can't actually confirm that we don't get a receipt, we don't have anything to prove that it actually tallied our votes to be accurate to what we wanted them to be. We have to take it on faith that those were actually accurately scanned in and counted. Which I'm like I said, the American elections are not secure. They're not safe. There's realistically no reason any of us should, accept them, because win or lose, either way, if you're a realistic person, I mean, obviously people don't bitch when their side wins. It's human nature. Like, our team won, rah, rah, go us. But ultimately, our elections are very insecure, and we're seeing the evidence of it now. The ironic thing is, so we get record voting numbers with, if you take that asterisk year of 2020 out of the fucking equation, record turnout. 75 odd million people voted for Trump, 71 odd million voted for Kamala, according to the fucking current accepted numbers. And again, those numbers are shifting drastically. Like, they're still counting ballots in Chicago, and they're oddly enough finding all these ballots. And now, they're coming in like, 2,000 votes for Trump and 25,000 votes for Kamala in these fucking bunches of ballots that are just now recently being claimed. And in and of itself, they're going to try and chisel away at the idea that he won the popular vote in a fucking landslide too. So they can say, well, his policies aren't mandated by the people because he barely eked out a win, which is what the leftist talking heads are already saying on social media and in the news media outlets. And they're having a really big glass of fucking copium at this point, because they're literally echoing everything that they called people conspiracy theorists and delusional and traitors and treasonous assholes. They're saying all the same shit that everyone was saying in the 2020 election, only worse. They're doing what the leftists always do. They're being completely egomaniacal and making it all about themselves. It's not that the world doesn't see things their way because it's stupid. It's that everybody else is lying and cheating. And in some ways, they're coming so close to hitting on some actual real truths, because they're trying to figure out why 20 million less voters voted Democrat this election cycle. Not that maybe the last election cycle was some bullshit, but they're just trying to figure out why people didn't show up. Like, Biden went out and broke all these fucking voter records, turnout records, got the most votes ever in the history of the United States of America. And 20 million Democrats just decided to sit this one out after they spent the last 9 months comparing Trump and his backers to literal Hitler and calling everybody on the right of their ideal beliefs, which includes me. Even though I am not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination, I am very much a centrist, because I believe a lot of things need to change. And that's the general tenet of conservatism, is you don't really want change. You want things to stay the way they are. That's the conservative part. I'm definitely too conservative to actually be considered a Republican or to be considered a true far-right conservative. I'm very much a centrist, but I'm far to the right of these leftist assholes that think the world revolves around them and that are having fucking apocalyptic meltdowns on camera for the world to see, to show how frustrated they are that Donald Trump was picked over camel toe. And some of them are calling this election fraud, saying Trump stole the election because of those missing 20 million votes. Not maybe those 20 million votes were fucking inauthentic and wrong. Or I'm sorry, I'm now that camel toe's up to 71 million votes or whatever, it puts it more in like the 10 million vote range. But yeah, ultimately, Trump got more votes than he did last election and from the election previously. Camel toe's coming back in around where the left usually votes in terms of numbers, but it's got to be a fix. And Trump's stealing the election, and he's hiding votes. There's a theory floating around saying Elon Musk used Starlink to rig the election. And then these are the same assholes who didn't understand why for the last 4 years people have been screaming that we should not be having voting machines that are connected to the internet in any way, shape, or fucking form, including Elon, oddly enough. So it's realistically, and it's just an utterly stupid situation that we're in, because we have all these leftist people having meltdowns, but at the same time saying all the same shit that they've mocked people from the right for saying, literally calling out the elections as being invalid, saying Trump stole the election, saying he's an invalid president, which for the short-term memory motherfuckers out there, that's the same thing Hillary was saying. That's the same thing Hillary still says today. She refers to Trump as an illegitimate president to this fucking day, because she refuses to let her ego realize nobody fucking likes you and you fucking lost. And just to make matters worse, the election officials in Pennsylvania have actually gone on record as saying they realize they are counting invalid ballots against the ruling of the state Supreme Court, and they're still doing it. And they're perfectly comfortable doing it because apparently they're not going to be taken to task for this. All these election judges should be fucking charged and thrown in jail over this shit for election interference. Now we'll just wait and see if it actually fucking happens or not. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to change the outcome. Trump won. He's getting into office. He's already started listing his cabinet appointments. And his cabinet appointments are literally causing meltdowns from the fucking leftist whack jobs. And I'm here for it all fucking day. I mean, it's realistically, and I'm going to get to this in a minute a little bit more, but just going through a few of the specific appointments he's already done. Out the gate, he starts out doing something that's never been done before for a, chauvinistic, male, yada, 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 bigoted, phobic, blah, blah, blah. Very first cabinet appointment, his upcoming chief of staff, Susie Wiles. She was like, campaign manager. She's the first woman to ever hold the position. She's going to help, but, again, he's such a bigot. He's such a male chauvinist, blah, blah, blah. And so he says that he's going forward, appoints RFK for Secretary of Health, he's nominating these people. They still have to be confirmed by Congress and go through the rigmarole. And we'll get to that in a few minutes too. But RFK Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services, to the surprise of really nobody, because he's going to help make America healthy again. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of RFK Jr. either. I mean, everybody knows I'm not a fan of Trump. RFK, a little too big government for me. Not realistically my kind of guy. But what he wants to do in terms of medications, vaccines, and what's being allowed to be put into the food in this country, I'm here for it. So, yeah, make America healthy again. Stop making America perennial fucking drug clients. But then we've got, like, Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem. Tulsi's going to be the head of national intelligence, which... that's great. They put her on a fucking terrorist watch list when she started bad-mouthing Kamala, and now she's going to be all of their fucking bosses. So I think that's pretty hilarious. Kristi Noem, the governor of, was it South Dakota? Yeah, South Dakota. A lot of people talking shit because she had to put a dog down. Most of the people talking shit, yeah, it's sad when a dog has to be put down, but when you're not living in a rural life, you don't understand. If a dog's a menace to the rest of the animals on the farm, yeah, it's a problem. What else? So I said Bobby Kennedy. And Matt Gaetz is the Attorney General, which I think is fucking hilarious, because you want to talk about somebody who's really like anti-deep state, MAGA, full hardcore, and people are just having a fucking meltdown about this. Now all of a sudden all these people are, we want to hear about the congressional insight in the hearing. Now this is, there were allegations that came out like a year and some change ago that he had an inappropriate relationship with a 17-year-old girl when he was 36. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the age of consent in Florida is 17, so even though it's creepy and gross and icky, and I would, my general hard stance of leave the fucking kids alone, and when you get into that upper teenager things, it gets a little more squishy, but still, 36-year-old shouldn't be fucking with a teenager regardless. That's just where I stand on it. If you're 18 and you're fucking a 36-year-old, yes, technically you're an adult, it's still fucking gross. But it's... also not my place to tell an 18-year-old how to live their life. Legally, they're adults and have that right. But again, that's not the point. The point is, these allegations came out over a year ago. They were investigated by the Democrats in Congress for over 13 months, and nothing was brought of it. Merrick Garland, who is an absolute corrupt piece of shit who would chomp at the bit to get any MAGA person behind the eight ball, opted not to bring charges forward on this case, specifically because of a lack of fucking evidence, and he didn't think it was a prosecutable offense. Mostly because it was hearsay, because the accuser wasn't the girl. The accuser was somebody else who said she saw it happen. So Very sus at best. Matt Gaetz is going to be a fucking pit bull if he gets confirmed. Now, a bunch of the fucking rhinos are saying, well, we're not going to confirm him and we're not allowing it to happen. And that'll I'm going to circle back to this in a few minutes. But then we've got Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. I'm sure I'm slaughtering his fucking name. Never heard of the guy until he got nominated. Did a little research. Guy's pretty fucking hardcore, to be honest. And that's the other thing. Trump's filling up his cabinet with fucking veterans. So basically all the people who are still trying to push the suckers and losers hoax because of how he referred to John McCain years ago. He's got more vets in his cabinet than you'd think for somebody who thinks veterans are suckers and losers. And like I said, this Hegseth guy, I got a lot of respect for him. He's pretty hardcore and seems pretty badass as far as I can tell. And let's see, scroll through the list, yada, 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 da-da-da-da-dum. Last one I really want to get to, I mean, there's a bunch of other notable names, but I want to bring up one of the major issues from this election, as all of us know, is the immigration issue. And Trump appointed to his border czar, or nominated, or whatever, however you want to look at it, is Tom Homan, who the left has already, he was a contributor to Project 2025. Yeah, a lot of people contributed things to that. It was a think tank project. It was not something the Trump administration had commissioned. Donald Trump had fuck all to do with it. It was a think tank that got together and said, these are the things we need to do to get this country back on track. There were some pretty stupid fucking ideas in Project 2025. There were also some legit concepts, and one of the legit concepts came from Tom Homan, which was we need to shut down our borders, deport the illegals, and streamline immigration to make it functional and useful, not let everybody and their mother in and let them pay their way here. So realistically, he's already out there full-blown pitbull mode. Yeah, we're going to deport all you motherfuckers. Pack your shit. You're going home. And to a certain extent, it's already started self-fulfilling because people are self-deporting because they realize they don't want to have to deal with the getting processed. So they're fucking leaving. And realistically, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Why not? It's my show. I'll say what the fuck I want. One of the things about my stance on this is I'm all for legal immigration. And like most people I know who are legal immigrants, the legal immigrants hate the fucking illegals that came here and did it the wrong way. And even more so now that the illegals are getting all kinds of free shit from the current administration. Millions and millions of dollars. Motherfuckers that come here can't speak a lick of English, don't have an address, don't have a place to live, tried to vote in the last election, get debit cards at taxpayer expense with thousands of dollars on them, link cards, EBT cards, and cash cards. They're buying houses with American tax dollars, and they don't even count as citizens. And it's ridiculous. Meanwhile, our veterans are in the streets. Our fucking mental health across the country is fucking in the toilet. But no, let's spend literally billions of dollars housing, feeding, sheltering, and transporting illegal aliens, because that's what the left has been doing for the last 3 years and some change. As much as they try and deny it, it's what's literally been going on. Like all the fucking Haitians that were brought here under emergency evacuation refugee status. Well, they've been here long enough that emergency status has been revoked. They're no longer here under an emergency status, which means they're no longer here legally. And all the people want to say, oh, well, these Haitian migrants are legal. They were brought here as emergency refugees. Yeah, well, that's the problem with an emergency status is it can't last forever, or else it's not an emergency. It's just the way things fucking are. So, yeah, and I'm not sympathetic. I'm saying all the illegals that were brought into this country at the taxpayers' dime by the Biden administration need to go the fuck home. And they're talking about, I think it's a great idea. I've heard floated around that they're going to do an amnesty program. If you leave voluntarily before Trump is sworn in, you can come back in. If we have to catch you and throw you the fuck out, you're done. Leave the country, go wait in line like everybody else that wants to be here, do it the right fucking way, and you're welcome to come back. But if we catch you and throw you out, you're fucking donezo. You're gone. And that needs to start with all the fucking criminals that are fucking here. And don't try and tell me they're not. You've got literally Trenda Aguiar, who's operating in every major city in Tennessee right now, according to a recent press report. They're taking over entire apartment blocks in Colorado. They're literally no-go zones for Colorado citizens in Boulder that have lived there, and they can't go there because the fucking migrants will kill them. So, don't tell me that this is not a thing. It's a fucking thing. It's all over the place for anybody that's willing to actually open their eyes and be honest with themselves. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them get deported because Like Tom Holman, he was in an interview, and just to give you a frame of reference, like I'm a huge fan of Grady Judd. Similar cut of cloth on this guy. They said, "Well, what's your answer to avoiding destroying families by deportation?" He says, "Simple. They can all be deported together." And that's one of the things I'm completely in favor of is no more anchor babies. And I know people don't like that term and it's insensitive, but I don't fucking care because it's what they are. If you're two illegals and you squirt a kid out here on American soil, and that kid is why you can't be deported because that kid's an American citizen because they have birthright citizenship, they were born here. Yeah, no, it shouldn't work that fucking way. You should not be able to come into the country illegally and squirt out a fucking semen demon and call yourself an American because your kid can't be deported and you have to be there to be your kid's legal guardian. Fuck you. You're not legal. Your kid doesn't need a legal guardian that's an illegal alien. So you can all go back to your shithole together. And I know that's unfair to refer to these places as shitholes, and I'm sure there's a lot of decent people just trying to escape bad situations and make better lives for themselves. But again, my sympathy is tempered by the fact that you didn't do it the right fucking way. You paid some illegal coyote to smuggle you across the fucking border. You should have just gotten there, used the money you paid the coyote to fucking sit down and get a hotel room until your paperwork was processed. Because, I'm pretty sure you can get a shithole hotel on the Mexican side of the border somewhere for relatively cheap. But I digress. That's not the whole point. The whole point of the matter is the wide open borders have facilitated importing of drugs, human trafficking, children being sold into sex slavery or even regular slavery, because let's face it, that's still a thing. People still buy illegals to do fucking work at slavery wages, if that. And it's a horrible fucking situation that's been facilitated by the current administration and their lax border policies. That's one of the reasons Trump won. That's one of the reasons Trump had the endorsement of the Border Patrol and most of the border agents. It's funny, where most of the working class motherfuckers endorsed the Cheeto, most of the management was like, oh no, we're endorsing Camel Toes because they're the corrupt motherfuckers that benefit from the situation. Meanwhile, the grunts on the grounds are the ones that are getting fucking hurt and maimed and killed by the cartels because they don't actually have any upper chain support when they're dealing with this bullshit. So, yeah. That's a thing. It happened. It's going to happen. It's going to be really interesting to watch. And there are people already, oh, well, what would the cost of deporting all these millions and millions of people be? Less than the cost of fucking keeping them here. That's what. You take all that money that's been budgeted to care for them and feed them and clothe them and house them and give them money so they can go out and be worthless sacks of shit and parasites and criminals, and you use that money to get rid of them. It's really not that fucking complicated. And then it's a one-time expense. It's not a reoccurring expense that you're dishing out every fucking month. Because that's really how these cash cards and EBT transfers and everything work, is it's a reoccurring, gets reloaded when they go out and spend the money, and they don't have to buy shit. They have money for other shit. And then, wow, it's all taxpayer dollars. That's why the country's $36 trillion fucking dollars in debt. And we're on, it's like we're on the pace to be spending about another $1 trillion every fucking 90 days in this country right now. So that's a problem. But on the upside, there is a chance that we'll actually get a little recovery from that, because one of the other things Trump did was he appointed Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead up the Department of Governmental Efficiency. That's right. The meme has come to reality. Doge is going to be a fucking government advisory board. And that's one of the things, too. People are already talking shit about, oh, well, Elon and Vivek are going to have to divest themselves of all their business holdings because they can't be in a government position if they're making money. And here's the thing. It's not going to be an actual government office. It's going to be an advisory board, and they're going to advise him on who he needs to fucking get rid of. Because there actually already is an existing Office of Government Efficiency in the current bureaucratic swamp. The thing is, they're about as efficient as you expect a government agency to be, so they're fucking worthless. So, yeah, Elon and Vivek are going to come through, clean house. People are already starting to have a fit. There's already been repercussions of things happening. And this is going to bring me on to the next thing I want to talk about, is the side effects of Trump winning. Almost immediately, we've got situations changing, policy shifting, allegiances coming out where people who were afraid to acknowledge the fact that they were pro-Trump before he won, now they're like, yeah, you know what? You kind of are. At this point, it's really interesting because, like, the mayor of New York is saying, he's looking forward to working with the Trump administration because he's already in trouble with the Democratic deep state for going against all the fucking migrants they've been saddling him with and all the crime that's going on in the city and how New Yorkers are getting fucked over on behalf of all these fucking illegals. So I can't really see him being too resistant to the situation. But the kind of funny thing about the whole thing is they've already started self-deporting, and realistically, that's what I think with this mass deportation thing, where a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's going to cost how many billions of dollars to mass deport all these people." It's not going to cost as much as you would probably think, because in a lot of ways, it's going to be a self-executing scenario, because all you have to do is cut off the free ride. When the free ride stops, a lot of these motherfuckers are going to go home. All of them? No, not all of them. But a lot of them will. When there's no free money, when there's no free food, when you don't get a free fucking hotel room to stay in, when you have to actually go out and try and find a job, which is going to be a lot harder to do as a fucking illegal. When the free ride's over, it's going to be easier to go back to where you know how the world works, where you're not, a stranger in a strange land. Do I think that's going to be the case for all of them? No, because I honestly believe that a handful, quote, I'm big air quotes here, handful of bad actors that have come in under this wide open border policy, the sleeper cell potential terrorist situations, which I think are going to be probably getting activated shortly after New Year's. You feel that up with the domestic fucking situation that's bound to happen as the leftists, get over their crying fits, dry their tears, and decide it's time to start burning shit again. Yeah, I do see there's going to be some problems, but again, this will help streamline the deportation process, because once you're arrested and found to be an illegal alien, you're going to get fucking deported. It's not going to be, okay, well, we're going to let you go and all this other shit and blah, 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 blah. No, it's going to be, oh, look, here you go, on the bus, out you go. And it's not going to be, we're not going to have to go hunting these people down. People are trying to make this over dramatic situation of how it's going to be this witch hunt and blah, blah, blah. Door to door, rounding up the illegals and snatching illegal kids out of schools, which technically they shouldn't be in since they're, illegals. And again, not trying to sound unsympathetic, but I'm not. It's a cold world. It's a harsh reality. We got to do something, and the first thing we have to do is, before we can try and save the rest of the world, we have to save our fucking selves. And then, speaking of removing yourself from the equation, so then on the social media, they'll just leftist after leftist after leftist is leaving X, and every single one of them is doing it with this just absurd amount of fanfare. It's like, here's my post regarding why I can no longer stay in this toxic environment, or things like that, to that effect. Gabrielle Union and the ever popular Don Lemon. I fucking hate that shit stain. He's like, and his was like, hey, I'm going to be leaving X. And then he hung around for like another 17 fucking hours. Like he was waiting for people to try and convince him to stay or something. Like, no, I swear, guys, I'm leaving. I mean it this time. I'm going. Isn't anybody going to try and stop me from going and tell me how great I'm? And it's like, no, you fucking loser. Nobody likes you. Go away. You're a failure. You suck. And then, finally, Stephen King finally pulled the plug on his account, which is, for somebody who I read a lot of his books, and a lot of his fucking books, and I really enjoyed a lot of his books, other than the weird, creepy child sex scenes in it, which was always, ugh. And there were some other vaguely inappropriate scenes in a few of his other books, but overall, the general theme was I liked most of his work. But he's just such a fucking twat when it comes to, his politics and his stances. And the older he's gotten, the farther left he's gone. And another one just went off the deep end. It was a fucking shame. I hated to lose him. Not as much as I hated to find out Samuel L. Jackson was endorsing Camel Toe, but that broke my heart. But I still have the hope that someday he'll narrate my life story, because I'm going to need somebody that has a gift for saying motherfucker. But I digress. But yeah, so the liberal trash is taking itself out and leaving X, because it's such a toxic social media platform, because it's so horrible, and people can just say anything, and it's an actual fairly free speech platform where things like community notes exist, because the only way to counter bad information is not through censorship, it's through better fucking information. That's how it used to be everywhere. That's how discourse is supposed to work. That's how conversations are supposed to happen. That's how you're supposed to learn and grow and develop, not by existing in a little echo chamber that tells you you're right and gives you everything you want. So all these leftist fuckwads are heading over to an app called Blue Sky. Now, Blue Sky is something I will not set an account on, because I know I will get kicked right the fuck off of it as soon as I post something even remotely close to something I actually think. Because it's like the alternate to Twitter when Elon bought Twitter. And they literally combined it. And the thing is, for somebody that was literally ripping off something that already existed, they did such a shit job of it. They kept the Twitter color schemes. They made their icon a butterfly, which looks just like a bloated X, basically. And everything about it was literally just a ripoff of Twitter 1.0. And in the last couple of weeks, they have gotten absolutely flooded with new accounts, and they were trying to brag about they've had 3 million new accounts set up in the last 2 weeks. The problem is they're also being inundated with reports, and everybody is reporting everybody else's posts on this fucking website, and it's like crashing the system. They can't keep up with it. They've backlogged. They've gotten more fucking reports in the last week and a half than they got all of last year or some shit like that. And they're saying they're getting like 3,000 reports a day or 3,000 post reports a day, and it's just utterly ridiculous horse shit. But ultimately, it's funny because it means the leftists are telling on each other for posting shit that hurts their feels, which I find to be fucking hilarious. I mean, I'm sure there's a degree of conservative trolls that are over there fucking with them, but at the same time, it's just overwhelming how stupid these people are. And then the funny thing is they said they're trying to prioritize all the child porn material on there, which just tells you what these creepy fuckers are. I mean, when they think they're safe and in their element, they're posting child porn. So that should tell you a lot about the fucking whiny leftist assholes who are like, oh, I'm going over there because it's not a cesspool filled full of hatred. Well, the problem is, if you look at it just from an objective standpoint, like I said, I don't consider myself a right-leaning individual. I'm very centrist. I'm socially progressive, fiscally conservative. Aaron is Aaron. I've always been Aaron. I'm never going to be anything besides Aaron. But ultimately, like I said, I used to be considered liberal because I was fine with gay guys existing and lesbians existing and bisexuals existing, and I firmly believe that, that gay couple down the street should be able to get married and celebrate by smoking a joint and fucking protecting their pot farms with automatic weapons. That's just how I am. And at the time, that made me extremely liberal when I was young. But then they kept moving the bar, and all of a sudden, I'm a fucking right-wing extremist because I really don't want fucking guys who think they're chicks cutting their fucking dicks off to compete in a sport. And by the way, most of the people who are doing it for like sports and stuff, they don't get bottom surgery. They just don't, because then they lose their advantage. I mean, maybe not all of it, but they lose enough of it. When their testosterone production tanks, yes, it does impact things, but they've still got the skeletons and musculature of a grown-ass man at that point. So yeah, even if they do pull the trigger and fully commit, it doesn't work out. But most of the people getting bottom surgery are just mentally ill gay guys, I think, that they have some sort of self-loathing where they think they're going to be happier as a woman, and then they're still not happy and they still loathe themselves, but then nobody wants to touch them because you don't want to fuck a hole. It's just, the whole thing is a fucking shit show. And then you get the, trans men or trans women that are lesbians, and it's like, no, dude, you're an ugly gay dude in a dress, or you're an ugly straight dude in a dress that's trying to convince other women that you're a woman so they have to have sex with you because you're lesbian, or they're bigots. And the ridiculousness that has come out of this shit in the last 5 years that I just can't get behind. I can't co-sign. I'm all for love who you love, feel how you want to feel. And if you're a grown-ass adult, identify as what you want to identify. But your self-identification does not entitle you to preferential treatment. It does not entitle you to special treatment. And it does not obligate anybody else that has to validate what you think. Think whatever you want. Live however you want. Love whoever you want. I don't give a fuck if you're an adult. Leave the kids alone. Let the kids figure out who they are on their own in their own fucking time. A lot of this shit, this gender ideology where they're pushing puberty blockers, hormone blockers, cross-sex hormones, intersex hormones, operations on children that are irreversible and cause developmental damage. It's been proven that it's actually worse for them. It's not going to validate their mental state. It doesn't affirm their issues. It literally causes nothing but fucking problems. Most of those kids probably would have grown out of their confusion or come to the terms with, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm a lesbian, maybe I'm just a tomboy, maybe I'm a effeminate boy. I don't know what a Sally? We used to call them back in the day. I know that's not PC, but neither is tomboy anymore either. So, but whatever, however you want to look at it, leave the kids alone. Let them figure out who they are. Let them grow up and develop and get to where they need to be. Don't fucking sit there and say, well, since you're a boy and you like playing with dolls, you must be a girl. You're in the wrong body. It's like literally some of the most homophobic shit on the planet. Just instead of letting these kids discover and work through their shit and figure out what they're supposed to be, you want to tell them, oh, no, you're in the wrong body. Well, I've heard God don't make mistakes. Not that I'm particularly religious, but, if that's the way you want to look at things, maybe that's the way you should be looking at things, so you can just leave the fucking kids alone. That's really where I stand on the issue, in case you haven't noticed by now. If you want to keep fucking around with the kids, you go in the fucking wood chipper. That's just common sense. That's what's right. Who knows? Maybe we'll actually get to start putting pedophiles into wood chippers under the new administration. I mean, everybody on the left is screaming how demonic and horrible this is going to be and how all of their lives are over. And again, this brings me back to all the fucking social media posts from all these fucktards where you have, men, women, children, fat men that think they're girls, fucking snaggletooth bulldykes that think they're fucking men, but they're really just chicks with 5 o'clock shadow. It's just utterly fucking ridiculous. And just honestly, some of the ugliest fucking people I've ever seen in my life that feel the need to video record themselves having meltdowns and post them to the internet for fucking clout, because that's the only reason you would do something like that. It's pure performative bullshit. Nobody's going to take the time to set up a ring light, set up a tripod, make sure they're getting the angle right, and then have an emotional outburst. It's contrived. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't know who these assholes think they're impressing. Unless you're talking about the other smooth-brained fucks that would also pull the same performative nonsense. It's juvenile. It's pathetic. It's fucking weak. But they're still doing it. And it's entertainment for the fucking more rational-minded people is watching these assholes have meltdowns. Some of the best reels I've seen recently have come out of remixes of, like, screaming assholes over metal beats and shit like that. These people having meltdowns in their cars. And it's always, oh my God, why? Why me? Why do you hate me so much, bitch? It's got nothing to do with you, you fucking egomaniac. We want to be able to afford to live, and we don't want you fucking with the kids. That's pretty much it. We want secure borders. We want to have a decent life. If you think that's all about you, you're a fucking narcissist, and you need some fucking help. And if you're going to have a meltdown on camera and then throw it on the internet for the world to see, that just shows how narcissistic you actually fucking are. You have bigger fucking problems than who's in the White House. And to kind of, wrap it up, because we're starting to get a little long-winded here, we're going to say the other thing. Now, it started with the meltdown videos. And then it turned into the whole ranting and raving and threatening videos. And then the election denying videos. And then the announcing they're leaving videos. And now we've got people actively, like, out here stating felonious claims of, like, yes, I want people to assassinate people and I want people to die. You all need to die. I'm going to start shooting Trump supporters. I'm going to start massive outpouring of lefties all of a sudden. Oh, well, we're going to arm ourselves. You know what? Fucking good. And the posts, I've seen posts of like, oh, we're going to get in the gym and start training because, protest season's coming. And did it. Good. Take your asses to the gym. Get healthy. Get some testosterone in your system. It'll slap the stupid out of you, maybe. Because, they say working out can lead to being a right-wing extremist because, well, how do you go figure? Once your body starts actually doing physical labor and functioning and performing and producing the hormones you're supposed to have, you start feeling better about life. You start realizing that it's not all a fucking, giant Ponzi scheme out to make your personal existence shitty. And when you start to adjust your physical and health and well-being, your attitude gets less shitty and your outlook changes and you stop being such a miserable fuck. And meanwhile, then all of a sudden we have these leftist nut job broads that are saying, oh, well, we're going to embrace the 4B movement since you guys elected Donald Trump and it's my body, my choice. And if he's going to take away our abortion rights, so we're not having sex and we're going to shave our heads. So they're literally making themselves completely unattractive to men, which is what a lot of them were doing to begin with, because a lot of the people I've seen partaking in the whole I'm going to shave my head to protest Trump getting elected were not fuckable to begin with. And that's just, obviously some guys will stick their dick in anything. I'm not one of them. I'm kind of picky about who I find attractive and who I don't. And as such, I haven't seen a lot of chicks shaving their head that were a hot loss, and I definitely haven't seen a lot of chicks going, well, we're going to stop having random sex with you guys. A, you probably weren't fucking conservatives to begin with. I said it before, I'll say it again. You were probably out there just boning sad, low-T, soy-fed, beta fucking Democrats. Or occasionally getting railed by like an entire fraternity because you were out having a girls' night and got hammered and was like, I'm going to do me. This is empowerment. I'm going to get fucking raw dogged by 8 of these fucking lacrosse players. And so well, we're not going to have sex with you. Most of you weren't anyway. Who gives a fuck? It's not a loss, you narcissistic twat. The world doesn't revolve around your fucking cooch, sweetheart. I hate to break it to you. And, oh, we're not going to have no sex without marriage. That's kind of what the conservatives wanted, you dumb skanks. You're literally doing what they wanted in protest of them getting the W. It's really, the disconnect for these fucking people is unreal to me. And that's the other thing I don't understand about the way leftists fucking think. All their threats, all their ranting and raving, and all the fucking things they think they're going to do. It's all done from the very weakest of mindsets where they're doing things that would only be hurtful to people that think the way they do. And they don't understand that all these empty threats and stupid fucking statements are not going to garner the reaction they want because they lack any sort of empathy or any sort of ability to think outside of their own fucking mindset. So they don't realize all these threats and statements and bold actions are literally what the other side wanted them to do in the first fucking place. It's not a protest. If you're doing things that would be hurtful to people like you, you're not doing things that are hurtful to people that find your way of life fucking abhorrent. But again, that's, too much self-awareness for most of these fucks. And, it's starting to look like we're getting ready to work up for riot season, but it looks like they're going to hold off on that shit and probably until after Trump's elected. Assuming we're still in a state where we can get things going, unless they want to try and do it right before the inauguration where they want to declare martial law and try and put a pin in that. But we may not get to that point either. Who knows? I mean, we've still got, I already lost count of how many days it was. 68, 67, something like that. Well, I don't know. Around 65 days, give or take, depending on when you hear this, till Trump gets inaugurated, and who knows what kind of card they're... Well, I mean, maybe they'll get Zelensky to fucking, poke the bear enough to try and set off World War III. Maybe they'll fucking just start burning down cities and declare martial law and say, yeah, no, we're not going to let you have your way. But, I mean, that's not going to play out the way they think it's going to. I guarantee that. And, I mean, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any fucking deeper knowledge or any wisdom other than my own observations, but I really, the October surprises that everybody was promising really turned out to be a whole bunch of fucking nothing burgers, and it's, we'll see what happens. Maybe the Diddy list will get dropped. Maybe the Epstein list will get dropped. Maybe we'll start dragging these fucking creatures out by their fucking hair and fucking slapping them around and giving them the tar and feather treatment. Who knows? Cautiously optimistic that things might actually start getting better. I mean, I'm too jaded and cynical to really have a whole lot of hope, but just the way some of these things are panning out are really entertaining for me. And, I guess for now we're going to put a pin in it and say that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord, come and interact, be a part of the show, buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.